In the United States, there is a cultural fascination with the lifestyle and often the drama of the rich and famous. Gossip from happenings within the aristocracy is as much a part of American culture as baseball and apple pie. The obsession over the happenings of those of wealth were the talk of town long before social media, reality television, and even the television and tabloids themselves. But when a shocking event occurs without any answers in the Heartland, it leaves people scratching their heads and talking even nearly 100 years later. This week on Heartland Horrors, we will tell the story of the Hundley murders. Our story takes place in Carbondale, Illinois, home of Southern Illinois University. But at the beginning of our story, in the late 19th century, Carbondale is a small railroad town home to what was then called Southern Illinois Normal University, a college for teachers. Carbondale was a regional hub for higher education and the trading of goods. One of the most prominent families in Carbondale at the time was the Hundleys, who had owned a grocery store and hotel. Among the children in the family was James Charles Hundley. James would marry Myrta Alden and have 2 children with her, Victor and Lola. The couple were known for living large. They often threw extravagant parties. They were active in the community and civic clubs. Everyone in the area knew who they were, and it was no secret that sexual deviance was a common occurrence. But when James would murder a man that Myrta was having an affair with, Myrta divorced James. James would be acquitted of the murder. However, it would cause a rift within the family. It was reported that Victor, in particular, was bitter towards his father over the whole incident. Lola and her mother would move to Memphis, Tennessee, while Victor would marry, have children, and live in Carbondale near his father. James would not only be acquitted, but gain further wealth and standing in the community. Now a banker, James would become the mayor of Carbondale in 1907. In 1915, he married his second wife, Luella Harrison. Harrison was also from an aristocratic family in Southern Illinois who had come from generations of wealth. James and Luella built a new home on Main Street in Carbondale. Throughout the decades, witnesses reported that the rift between James and his son Victor never healed. In fact, it was rumored that James, who was now in his 70s, had intended on writing Victor out of his will. On December 12, 1928, stormy weather was passing through Carbondale that night. Many of those who lived in the neighborhood who were turning in for the night were listening to the sounds of the rolling thunder from the storm, when out of nowhere, a different sound grabbed their attention. The sound was not the gentle roar of thunder, but rather gunshots ringing out. A neighbor near the Hundleys, Olga Casper, reported hearing gunshots and seeing the lights turn off in the Hundley house. Then she heard someone on foot running past her house. At that late night hour, sheriff's deputies had to respond from the neighboring town of Murfreesboro. Due to the heavy rain and poor condition of the roads, it took police just over an hour to arrive on scene. When police arrived, they discovered the remains of what was a violent, gruesome scene. Police found no sign of a break-in. What they did find at the foot of the rear staircase in the kitchen was the body of Luella Harrison Hundley. She had been shot multiple times in the head and in the heart. Police proceeded upstairs. At the top of the stairs was the door to the master bedroom. Officers crept through the door to find the body of James Hundley lying on his bed with gunshot wounds in the back of his head. After interviewing multiple neighbors who heard the gunshots and saw the lights go off, no one could identify even a potential suspect. Police brought in tracking dogs who sniffed the scene and led police just around the corner to Victor Hundley's house. With long-running rumors in the community of a major rift between James and Victor, Victor became a prime suspect. Victor was questioned for the double murder, but according to Victor, him and his father made peace already. As for the murder weapon, a .45 caliber, Victor claimed that he had one, but he had lent it to his father. The police were never able to recover it. Upon further evidence that seemingly incriminated Victor, authorities arrested Victor and charged him with murder. But by the end of the year, Victor was released. Authorities did not have enough evidence to convict Victor. So who ultimately murdered James and Luella Hundley? Was it Victor, who was allegedly to be written out of the will? After the business partnerships and coal dissolved between James and Victor, did Lola commit the murder in an attempt to gain control of the family business? Lola had an alibi, though. She was in Memphis when the murders occurred. Was Mrs. Victor Hundley to blame? Some speculated that she had had an affair with her father-in-law and things went sour. Luella Hundley was caught in the crossfire. Despite many theories from local historians, the Hundley murders were a cold case. It appears that what occurred that night has been lost to time. Victor would work as a railroad conductor for the Illinois Central Railroad before retiring and settling 45 miles northeast in Hamilton County, Illinois, before his death in 1964. To this day, no one has been brought to justice over the Hundley murders. Despite many theories and speculation, no one has determined just who murdered Mr. and Mrs. Hundley. Those who believe in the supernatural claim that the Hundley house is haunted. Whether or not that is true is up for people to debate. What is not up for debate is that a couple met a violent end and have never received justice a century after this crime, a shocking crime in the aristocratic community that would keep Southern Illinois talking even a century later.